Let's look at number 2 from the worksheet from yesterday. Draw your line down your equal sign. So the notes yesterday tell us that step 1 is to simplify both sides of the equation by combining like terms and using distributive property. So on number 2, we need to use the distributive property because we have these parentheses. So remember, order of operations says parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Well, you got to take care of parentheses first. So we are going to distribute whatever's right in front of that parentheses, including the sign. So distribute that. Distribute means you're going to multiply. We do -4 times x. -4x. Then we're going to do -4 times a +5. If you need to, use your calculator. -20 equals, carry down the right side. Okay, so now we need to get the x by itself. So we do inverse operations. So the notes from yesterday tell us to do add and subtract, opposites of each other, and then multiply and divide, opposites of each other. So we are going to get rid of this -20 by doing the opposite of -20. Add 20 to both sides. When you do the inverse operation, you get a 0 pair. -20, +20 makes 0. So we cancel it out. It's a 0 pair. So it's -4x equals, the right side is also a 0 pair, but I still need a number. So because I still need a number, I'm going to put 0 there. So we're going to divide both sides by the -4 now. I think this is what messed a lot of people up because they're like, well, I got a 0. That doesn't work. But it does. It's okay. Now we're going to divide by the number in front of x, which simplifies that out. So we get x equal. If I have 0 cookies divided by 4 friends, what do I get? 0. Everybody gets 0. Let's review how to check our work using that store button in our calculator. So everybody get their calculator right in front of you. And we are going to store it. So we're going to put 0 and then use the store button. The store button's right here above the on. Store. And then the variable, x, which is right beside alpha. So in your calculator, it'll look like this, 0, arrow, x. That means I'm programming my calculator. Every time it sees x, it's going to insert a 0. Now I'm going to check my original equation, the left side, and see if it equals -20. So put that in, -4 parentheses, x plus 5, close parentheses. So since I programmed x to be 0, it's going to plug in a 0 here. Push enter, and it equals -20, so that means we did it correctly. We checked it off. So I'm not checking to make sure you check, but a way that I know if you checked is that you got the right answer. If you didn't get the right answer, but you still put a check mark, that means you really didn't check. It's for your benefit. It's going to help you make sure you get the right answers. So if you did get the right answer, then you need to check and make sure you put it in correctly here, and then double check your work, which may mean that you need to rework it out to find out where the mistake was. So let's look at our notes from yesterday so we can finish. We did 1 through 4. So now we're going to do 5 through 7. So let's look at number 5. So when you start, you have to simplify by combining like terms first. Okay, so draw your line down your equal sign. We need to get rid of the plus 1 first. So the opposite of plus 1, minus 1. So that's a 0 pair, so we get rid of it. Now we have 2 over 5. X equals 7 minus 1 is 6. All right, now we have a fraction in front of x. So anytime we have a number in front of x, we're dividing by that number to get rid of it. But this is a fraction, so we would divide by a fraction, which kind of gets confusing. So I'm going to teach you my favorite word, okay? My favorite word is reciprocal. Has anybody ever heard of that word? Reciprocal means you're going to flip the fraction. So write reciprocal on the side. Reciprocal. We use the reciprocal when we're getting rid of a fraction that's in front of the x value. And we flip the fraction. And multiply. And that's how you get rid of it. Instead of dividing by that 2 over 5, we are multiplying by the reciprocal, which is the same thing. But it's a whole lot easier. So on here, the way we use reciprocal is to get rid of the fraction. So we're going to multiply by the opposite. 5 over 2. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to help you remember that word reciprocal. Reciprocal is a fraction. Fraction's numerator over denominator. But whenever you do the reciprocal, you flip the fraction. So you might see me have my hands like this, and then I flip them. That's what I'm meaning. You're flipping your fraction. What's on top goes on bottom. What's on bottom goes on top. So I want everybody to hold up their hands like a sideways peace sign. Like this. And then, everybody. And we're going to say reciprocal together, and we're going to flip it. Okay? Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Reciprocal. Okay, we're going to do it again. Reciprocal. We're flipping the fraction to get rid of it, okay? All right, so that gets rid of it on the left side. And we're just left with x equals. Well, now we have 6 times 5 over 2. Okay, so let's take it back to, what, 6th grade when we multiply fractions? Whenever you multiply fractions, you do top times top over bottom times bottom. But 6 doesn't have a bottom. What's on the bottom of 6? 1. Yeah, has to be a 1. So we're going to multiply top times top over bottom times bottom. You can always just put it in the calculator. But I want you to remember this because the way this was tested last year was tricky. It required people to remember how to multiply fractions. So I just want to reinforce that. Top times top. What is 6 times 5? 30. Bottom times bottom. When there's nothing on bottom, we put a 1. So we do 1 times 2 is 2. And then what's 30 divided by 2? 15. So x equals 15. That is our solution. You can put this in though. So you could do 6 times, don't forget the fraction button, which is alpha y equals. and you can do 5 over 2. So you can also do that. So know that you can do that. So now let's check our answer. So we're going to plug it in. So do 15 store X, and that's programming. So now we're going to put in the 2/5 X plus 1. So alpha Y equals 2 over 5 X plus 1. Alpha Y equals, and it equals 7, so we're good. At the very top left. Okay, so I put a check mark, so I know I've done it. Okay, number 6. Draw your line down your equal sign. Ooh, this looks messy, right? We have variables and numbers and minus and a negative and all that. It looks complicated. We just need to break it down. First thing I see is this minus and negative. Can you have a double negative? It's like in English, can you be proper and say a double negative like I don't never eat pizza? Do you sound kind of dumb whenever you say that? So if I say I don't never eat pizza, what does that really mean? Don't never cancel each other out, and it means I eat pizza. I don't never eat pizza. It's real confusing. Anytime you see a double negative, right next to each other like this. See it? Put your finger on both of your negatives, or your minus and negative. We got to slash them out because you can't have a double negative. So slash them out, make them both positive. Now I have negative 5y plus 8 plus 3y minus 6 equals 22. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. It's a little simpler to read. So we got rid of the double negative first. And it's only true whenever it's minus a negative. All right, so now I need to combine like terms because that's what my instructions say. Simplify. So negative 5y and a positive 3y. So whenever you find out what that is, you don't use y, you don't use x. You just put in negative 5 plus 3. And it's a negative 2. So we have negative 2y. And then what else can I combine? Eight and negative 6. So that's like saying 8, ignore the 3y because I've already gotten rid of it. 8 minus 6 is 2 equals 22. All these 2's. All right, now I need to get y by itself. Now it looks like a much simpler problem. What do I need to do now? Yep, take away 2. Get negative 2y equals 22 minus 2, 20. What's my last step? Nope, what operation's happening here? Multiply, what's the opposite of multiply? Divide, yeah. So what is 20 divided by negative 2? Negative 10. Okay, so let's check our answer. So we're going to do negative 10. Y'all practice this with me. Get your calculator in front of you. Store X. And then put this in. Instead of using y, I use x. So negative 5x plus 8 minus parentheses negative 3x close parentheses. See the difference between the minus and the negative? The minus is in the middle and it's longer. The negative is shorter and it's moved up a little bit. And then minus 6. 22. So we checked it. Put a little check mark. Okay, our last one together. Let's look at number 7. Okay, remember order of operations? It says parentheses first, then exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. We've got to do parentheses first. This 6a, nothing is happening to it, but this negative 4 needs to be distributed to the 2a and the minus 1. So circle the negative 4, because that's what we are going to distribute. It becomes a negative whenever we ignore what's in front of it when we distribute. The 6a, nothing happened to it, so we're just going to carry it down. Negative 4 times 2, what is that? Negative 8a. And then negative 4 times a negative 1. What is that? Negative times a negative. Positive. Positive 4. Okay, so I distributed. Now I need to combine like terms. What can I combine? What are the same? 6a and negative 8a. So 6 minus 8. And we keep the sign of the larger, so it's negative 2a plus 4 equals 3. All right, now it's a simple problem because all the parentheses are gone and it's all combined. I just have 3 terms. I need to move the positive 4. That's the one you always move first, the one that's being added or subtracted to your variable term. So this plus 4, to get it to the other side, what do I do with it? Take away 4. And I get negative 2a equals 3 minus 4. Negative 1. Good. And then I need to get a by itself. Last step, final step. This is a multiply. What's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So we're going to divide both sides by a negative 2. On the other example, I talked about double negative and you slash them out. The same thing happens whenever you're dividing. See how it's a negative over a negative? That's a double negative. We're going to slash them out. And these get slashed out too. So it's a equals a positive 1 over 2. Or what else could we use instead of 1 over 2? What's the decimal version? 0.5. Good. So you can write either example. So I'm going to write or, because they're the same. Our final thing is to check. So you can put it in as a fraction or as a decimal. If it's exactly 0.5 or exactly something, you can use the decimal. But if it repeats or it goes on and on forever, you cannot use the decimal. You got to use the fraction. So I'm just going to put 0.5, store x. And then I'm going to put in this, the original left side. 6x minus 4, parentheses, 2x minus 1, parentheses. And if this is the right answer, it should come out to equal 3. And it does. Make sure this is glued in that next page of your journal. And you're going to spend the rest of the class time finishing the worksheet. You need front and back now. So this is your worksheet. You're going to finish front and back, show your work, and check it.